So let's continue here with my lottery. See which is the next one I'm going to talk about. Is ANSES. ANSES Buenos Aires. It's another lawsuit, and this one is because the COVID tensions. Okay, because since I am in Argentina, and then I read the news all over the world, and everybody's getting their pensions, and because of the COVID-19 crisis. And everywhere, all over the world, you see there's some sort of agreement between the governments and the people about how you're going to survive. And I contracted COVID-19 1 year ago. I was at the hospital and everything. And I have problems working because the sales work, you need to be face to face, and the shops and everything, and I have to work online and all that. And then boom, out of the blue, you cannot work, and it's all the confusions, and then we try to survive, and that's everybody. Like I'm talking about 2020, right? With the crisis. And then I see, okay, when I'm going to get some sort of pension from the Argentinian government, as I am here, and I am an Argentinian citizen, and I'm asking for payments from overseas, and again, it's like, well, I'm in Argentina. Argentina is one of the wealthiest countries in the whole world, and its population is very small, so it makes no sense if you do simple math. It's like, why Argentinians struggle to survive if Argentina is one of the richest countries in the whole world and has such a small population? Because Argentina is rich. It's not like Israel. Israel is a small country, and they are rich. But it's a small country, so they do all intellectual work. Okay, touchable and non-touchable reality. Okay, once you have touchable, untangible is things you can touch. Okay, this is an adapter. Okay, this is touchable, it's tangible. Then I'm talking to you about an adapter that's not touchable. I'm telling you a story about how to build an adapter that's untouchable. Argentina has both. Argentina has free education. Most Argentinians, they speak more than one language. They speak English. It's a very, very prosperous nation when it comes to intellectual property. But I'm Argentinian myself, for example, and then I have all my losses. I made all my career overseas, but my losses, I'm an Argentinian citizen, for example. I was making my will, for example, and then they say, well, if I make a will in Argentina, it's valid for the whole world. So even my assets overseas, it's also. Messi is Argentinian, Maradona is Argentina, the Queen of Netherlands, she's Argentinian, so the Pope is Argentinian. So it's a lot of money, intellectual property money in Argentina. But then Argentina is a vast, huge country. It's the size of Australia. It's way more rich than Australia, for example. There's fresh water, the largest resources of fresh water all across the world. The landscape's all flat. So how come the richest country in the whole world is asking for people overseas to pay? I get that problem a lot, like, because I'm asking for funding, right? And then say like, but you're from Argentina. I mean, you are in Argentina. It's the wealthiest country in the whole world. How come you have no funding? You know. And then I go back to ANSES. This is the invoice. It's a pretty invoice. It's L1006-21. The Expediente online has over 20 pages, 30 pages now. I go saving all the files. I'm in negotiations with them since March 2020, and direct negotiations was October 1 year ago. And correspondences, I even sent mail to the President of Argentina and the Vice President of Argentina. I sent to ANSES all over Argentina. So like, I go face to face to the ANSES office here. ANSES is the National Security Association, so it's the Social Security of Argentina. So I go there face to face, and one of the most ridiculous answers I got was, Argentina has no money. That ANSES Argentina said that to me, but Argentina has no money. And like, how come? Argentina means money. The name of the country, Argentina, means money. Argentine, silver, plata. Plata is even how they call money in Argentina. So how come you live in the richest country in the whole world? How come there's only 40 million population? How come the name of the country is money, and you tell people that you're not going to pay any pensions on anything related to COVID-19 crisis because Argentina has no money? That makes no sense at all. There's also another employee of ANSES who said, I went face to face, okay, and he stands up and he said, what have I to do with this? I don't know how to translate to English. It's like, well, this is not my business. I have nothing to do with this. I'm like, hello, me amigo, I'm Argentinian citizen and you are the Social Security Office of Argentina. I understand if an Argentinian citizen is asking for a pension, like, I mean, that's the place to go. How come ANSES Argentina stands up and says, we had no business with that? Like, it's not. So it's a very difficult negotiation, because then we go to the religion, okay? The mainstream religion of Argentina is Jewish Messianic Ashkenazi. So there's a religious conflict here. And then I went to a symposium with the Orthodox Jewish community in Buenos Aires online, and they say that they do not recognize the Messianic as Jewish, because even if they think the act they work and exist as Jewish, they celebrate Christmas and they advertise themselves as agnostic or atheist or sometimes even Christian. They said may celebrate Christmas and all that. So they're not really Jewish, so they don't take them as Jewish. But we in Europe, we understand them as Jewish, because in Europe we say talking is cheap, actions matter. So if you think, act and work and exist as Jewish, you are Jewish. But then the Jewish community does not accept it. They say they are impures, they are messianic, and so there is conflicts in the Jewish community, because it's something like the Jewish community, the Orthodox, okay, they don't want to take responsibility on 40 million people in Argentina. And then in Europe we do, because we are altruistic, but they are not altruistic. Okay, so that's the big difference between Europeans and Jews. Okay, the Jewish community understands altruism as a defect, as a problem, and Europeans, we understand altruism as a blessing. So we're more altruistic. We find altruism something beautiful. It says on the 10 Commandments of Jesus Christ, like it's you need to be care of other people's problems if they are your own problems. That's Christianity, okay? Judaism does not accept that. They say it's not. They say that if you take other people's problems, you are enabling them not to solve their own problems. Like everybody has to solve their own problems on their own, okay? That's Judaism. But then you have the Messianics, which sometimes they are Christians, sometimes they are Europeans, sometimes they are Jewish, and they tangle from one to the other, and then we like, okay, but I'm European, I am in Argentina, I am a citizen, and also I estimate that about 30 million Argentinians are Europeans, because Jewish Messianic is just the mainstream religion of Argentina, but in the families, it's a very suffering. They suffer a lot. Europeans in Argentina, they suffer a lot. Almost all of them, they want to move back to Europe. That's why I moved myself. In my case, my parents did. They left Argentina like when I was a baby, so I never really lived. This is the first time in my life I'm for such a long time in Argentina, and now I'm understanding how hard it is to be as an European in Argentina and living in a Jewish Messianic country. And but anyways, let's go back to case ANSES. It's L1006-21. It's very, I mean, in dollars it's not a lot of money. It's about $1,000 now. I'm just charging 5,000 pesos every month, which were $63, and then I do a conversion every month, so now it's like 7,000. I'm asking for very reasonable figures, so it's only $60, but based on the currency, the local currency, I think 5,000 Argentinian money every month will be enough. It's just an assistance to keep up with the. I have no idea why ANSES is not paying that. Then it goes to the Jewish Messianic logic. It's very confusing. The Jewish Messianic community is something that they are Christians to collect a payment, but they are Jewish to pay. So, because I do business with the Jewish Orthodox, I'm very familiar with the Jewish. I even lived in Bal Harbour in Florida, and so the Jewish community, they are hard to collect and to pay. So usually when it's a full Jewish person, like you understand there's going to be a lot of negotiations to get a payment. But once you get a payment, you have a contract and you stick to that. The Jewish Messianic, they don't. They make an agreement with you as if they were European, but then once they say, oh no, I don't have a contract. But when you were selling to me, you didn't say you were Jewish, and you were like, and you act as European, and now when you have to pay, you're saying you're Jewish. So it's like you're Christian to collect, you're Jewish to pay. That's the Jewish Messianic. It's very complicated, and I believe there is some need worldwide to really fix these communities, because you can't be yes and no, no yet. Something to make it more simple is that they are gypsies. It's sometimes being, okay, you are a gypsy. A gypsy is, what's a gypsy? It's a person who adapts everywhere. But then back to Europe, we go, okay, let's go to your actions. Okay, that's why I believe there's need of cooperation with the Jewish Orthodox community, that how to handle the Messianics, especially when talking millions of people, and they cost a fortune because they're really hard to manage. It's very hard to manage. Like ANSES Buenos Aires, like, what is this? You know, they have my invoices, then say, like, the last response I got from them was blocking me. That was Claudia Lopez. She's the manager of another section of ANSES is called Andes. She has responded some of my messages with emergency plan in the Buenos Aires city, and now she blocks me. And like blocking, okay, and I'm sending by mail the letters and like, okay, when are you guys going to pay? I believe now this is the last month of the pension, so this is going to be, I'm going to make the last one. The total bills be 125,000 pesos, and then I'm going to send this. Then you have interest rates and all that. It's not my business that the Jewish Messianic community didn't take a decision to boom, pay cash and move on. They overpowered me, and they took the decision that not paying was the solution. Okay, but the bill is there. Then it's going to be interest rates and stuff. That's going to my case L1006-21 from L Group, Law and Exports Group, and that's case Dirección General ANSES. This is the next physical invoice that I'm sending. Okay, so let's see next video, the next invoice.